My friends, I am grateful to Jim Gibson for purchasing this sermon topic and for sharing his wisdom and passion with us today. You know him, you love him, Jim Gibson.
Hello, everybody. I am Jim Gibson, and good morning. Can you all hear me? Yeah. Good. I have to say, first of all, that the idea that the morning fishing is wonderful is a bit of a myth. Dusk is really the best time, although the morning fishing is based on the drift of the nymphs that come down streams in the morning, and it is productive. But the hatches at dusk generally are better. I want to apologize, first of all, because I am a retired history teacher, and as a species, we tend to be didactic and long-winded. This talk was really supposed to be a year and a half ago. I do not particularly care for Zoom, so I asked Chip to hold it off. And as a consequence, over the last year and a half, I kept adding stuff to what I was going to say. And last Sunday, I sat down to rough this out, and I cut about a third of it out, but it's probably still a little long. Oddly, joining this church brought me into fly fishing. When Glenda and I joined the church in 1984 with my son, who was at that time age 5, Bill Black, an avid and expert fly fisherman, was on the grounds committee with me. He left soon after for Iowa. He was a biology professor, which is probably a good match for a fly fisherman. And I'm sure he now is fishing the driftless area in northeastern Iowa and southwest Wisconsin. He gave me a book written by his father. The book was published in 1976. It is Fly Fishing in the Rockies. His father is a doctor. He really was part of what got me a start in fly fishing and got me interested in it. I have been into fishing all my life. I grew up walking distance from the Detroit River. And I would often walk across the Belle Isle Bridge. Those of you that know Detroit know there's an island park in the middle of the Detroit River. I used to walk around that, 7 miles around that, and fish all around the Canadian side and the Michigan side. I see we have another Detroiter in the front row. After I got into junior high and late junior high, I started to move away from fishing and got into football and track and got away from it, but it never left me. By the way, that island park is the most visited state park in the state of Michigan now. Chris and Fern Hamlin joined the church about the same time Glenn and I did. Chris is a casual fly fisherman, but on a fishing trip up to my cabin, he further introduced me into fly fishing. And that is about when I began to turn the corner. So I thank you to Bill and Chris. It's been a journey that I've been on ever since. Part of the appeal of fly fishing is one can never learn it all. Indeed, a less appreciated benefit of angling is the impact it has on human well-being. Just being out in nature, listening to the soothing sounds of water, and watching your fishing line in the water has been found to alleviate stress. The charm of fishing is that it is the pursuit of what is elusive but attainable, a perpetual series of occasions for hope. Fishing is not an escape from life, but often a deeper immersion into it all of it. The good, the awful, the joyous, the miserable, the comic, the embarrassing, the tragic, and the sorrowful. With apologies to Edna St. Vincent Millay, this is for Florence. My fly rod broke at both ends. It did not last the day. And all my foes and all my friends, heed to what I say. Do not assemble a fly rod indoors and attempt to navigate through 2 screen doors and around ceiling fans. Fly anglers come on a spectrum between the casual to the obsessed. I suppose I'm somewhere in the middle. Fly anglers go through a progression as they learn to fly fish and then get deeper into the sport. I am certainly not the first to note this progression. Level 1, we want to catch fish. Level 2, we want to catch lots of fish. Level 3, we want to catch big fish. This can be an expensive phase because it can lead to places like Alaska, Argentina, New Zealand, and Chile. Level 4, we want to catch difficult fish. This can be anything from a big brown feeding in shallow water to a 6-inch brookie in a small stream holding in a spot with an impossible drift. Level 5, we're just happy to be out there fishing. That said, I believe that there's a fishing gene and that the love of fly fishing is innate. I am not proselytizing any of you to fly fish. Fly fishing is hard. Think twice. It has a steep learning curve. Fly fishing saw a huge spike in popularity back in the 1990s when Robert Redford's River Run Through It was released in the theaters. Then eventually it died down again as people learned that this is not a skill one develops overnight. Fishing is hard, but it feeds the soul for some. It has that in common with gardening and quilting. If it isn't in your heart and soul, if the essential passion isn't there, don't bother. There are 3 reasons why I asked for this sermon. First, the spirituality in fly fishing, both in the pursuit of the natural world and the immersion in the natural world, has struck me for a long time. For me, it is only on rivers. On lakes, unless they're underdeveloped, is about as spiritual as bowling. It is a journey of why you fish, not necessarily to fish. Fishing can be a metaphor for religion, for all of us are fishing for something. Second, 30 years ago, although I have an English minor, Chris Hamlin made me aware of fishing writing. This has led to the pursuit of a fly fishing library and fly fishing's literary history. Fishing is a very old historical practice. Its literary genre began not long after the Bible. Isaac Walton's Complete Angler in 1653, a pastoral discourse on the joys and stratagems of fishing, has been one of the most frequently reprinted books in all of English literature. Isaac Walton in The Complete Angler states, "Oh, sir, Doubt not, but that angling is an art, and an art worth your learning. The question is rather whether you're capable of learning it. For angling, somewhat like poetry, men are born so. Arnold Gingrich, a famous fly fisher and founding editor of Esquire magazine, not related to Newt, was quoted as saying, "The best fishing is in print." My fishing library has not yet caught up with my history and political economy library, but it's getting there. Third, fly fishers are our environmental allies, not to lose because of petty complaints. The opportunity cost is large and huge. Do not piss away your friends. First of all, it's called fishing, not killing and catching. Remember, only nature can make trout streams. Only humans can destroy them. Enjoy what you can while you can. Do what you can to take care of the waters and land and air that you inhabit, and enjoy for next year, and for those who come after you, and encourage them to do likewise. Trout Unlimited, Fly Fishers International promote stream and water habitat restoration as a main part of their mission, and they pursue a worthy cause. I belonged to both for almost 20 years. The St. Joe River Valley fly fishers locally, the Little Elkhart Trout Unlimited, and the Kalamazoo Trout Unlimited are affiliated with those, and they do the same. I'm going to introduce this reading by telling you a little bit about the man who wrote it. Should have some water here. We do? Well, we'll go on. I don't want to pour the water like Donald Trump. John Voelker was a fly fishing icon and famous author. To avid readers of the 1950s bestsellers and to classic film buffs, he is also known as Robert Traver, the author of Anatomy of Murder, a famous auto-present director. I am getting dry here. He wrote Trout Madness, Trout Magic, but John Voelker is also a retired Michigan State Supreme Court Justice. After he made all the money from his writing and the movie, he bagged the law. He returned to his beloved Upper Peninsula and spent the rest of his life fishing for brook trout and writing. He is the man who Charles Kuralt befriended during his CBS On the Road segment, which many of you may remember if you're old enough. In the end, Kuralt said that Voelker was the closest thing to a great man that he'd ever met. No small compliment for somebody like Charles Kuralt. Kuralt said, "I've often been exhausted on trout streams, uncomfortable, wet, cold, briar scarred, sunburned, mosquito bitten, but never, with a fly rod in my hand, have I been unhappy." First, no. I got it right here. I'm cool. First, I want to warn you, this was written in 1964 by a 60-year-old man. So if you see a sexist tone, that's why. By the way, 25% or more of fly fishers today are women, and it's growing. Michigan Fly Girls have been around for over 25 years. My wife has been a member almost that long. If you want good information about women in fly fishing, check them out. This testament is revered by multitudes. I have it framed in my house and at our cabin. By the way, Robert Traver, who wrote this, was actually John Voelker, used the name Robert Traver because he was writing after World War II, and he had the feeling that his German ancestry would generate bias. John Voelker was born in 1903, Judge Voelker, I should say, and died in 1993. I fish because I love to, because the inlands where trout are found, which are invariably beautiful. I hate the environments where crowds of people are found, which are invariably ugly. Because of all the television commercials, cocktail parties, and assorted social posturing, I thus escape. Because in a world where most men spend their lives doing things they hate, my fly fishing is at once an endless source of delight and an act of small rebellion. Because trout do not lie or cheat and cannot be bought or bribed or impressed by power, but respond only to quietude and humility and endless patience. Because I suspect men are going along this way for the last time, and I, for one, don't want to waste the trip. Because mercifully, there are no telephones on trout waters. Because only in the woods I can find solitude without loneliness. Because bourbon out of an old tin cup always tastes better out there. Because one day I will catch a mermaid. And finally, because not because I regard fly fishing as so terribly important, but because I suspect so many of the other concerns of men are equally unimportant and not nearly so much fun. Thank you for your attention.